everyone, and welcome to the episode of MovieCast where we're breaking down Captain America: Brave New World. I am your host. It took me a minute there because there's too many words and there's letters, and I was like New World Order, but no, this world is brave and new. So anyway, I am your host, Dana, and I am joined by Mr. Danny Martinez. How are you doing? Good, sir.
Disappointed and tired.
Oh,
I'm not happy with the
he is
MCU.
disappointed. See, he doesn't understand what he's saying, and it's like opposite day for him. So when he says he's disappointed, he's so thrilled, he's so happy, he looks forward to Captain America Part 3 because clearly Part 2 wasn't enough for
Wait,
him.
but technically
He
this
left
was
the
part
theater
three.
crying.
So
Part
part
2 of
four.
the Black Man Experience.
Oh, yeah.
No, that even would be kept. That would be 3 because he had the TV show. So basically, this is Falcon and Winter Soldier season 2. Here we go. Or part 3 of something. I'm not sure. But yeah, kind of just diving right into this. We already know that how much he loved it. So tell me what were your immediate thoughts after leaving the theater? Like you're sitting in the theater, you saw those amazing after credits that was just mind blowing. No mid credit. It was like
okay.
after.
I'm gonna tell you, in my entire life, I've never walked out of a movie, and I didn't walk out of this movie, but I sure as hell felt like I wanted to. But because I always try to give MCU credit whenever I can. I give it a chance, regardless of what the trailers look like, regardless of what feedback I hear online. I give them all a chance. The only movie, even how bad the trailers look, the only movie I still have not seen to this day, comic book wise, is Craven. That's it. I knew how bad Morbius was going to be. I knew how bad Madam Web was going to be, and I still went and watched it. So I went and saw this movie, and I was cautiously optimistic because I like Anthony Mackie as Captain America. I think that's about it. I don't know what else this movie was really going for, because like the Red Hulk thing, I felt like that was more of like a way to just get people to come and see the movie, especially the fans and stuff. So as I sat down with my wife and we were excited to watch the movie, and as the movie progressed, I got more and more disappointed. And long story short, because I know we're going to get into specifics, the movie isn't bad to where I would never tell someone don't see it, but I would definitely tell you lower your expectations very, very, very low. This is not the movie that you want to be like some big MCU thing to like connect everything, or be like Iron Man 1 or 2 to like restart the MCU or any of that crap. Like, it's just a standalone movie, and it does its best, and it seems like there was way too many hands in this movie, and it was disappointing.
I just started thinking of, remember SNL, how they would do that skit where it was like lowered expectations.
No, that was Mad TV. I love that. Yeah, I
That was
remember
Mad
that.
TV.
Yeah, I remember that.
That was like, oh, okay, and then it started just playing in my head. So yeah, yeah. So I had a different response than you, and what I'm going to say is contradictory, because you have to understand how my mind thinks. I'm a very reactionary person. But if you give me like a minute or two to think before I react, then I can like talk myself out of an immediate reaction. So I came into this because we've been covering this for a while. We've broken down all the trailers. I've talked about what they did at San Diego Comic Con. We've talked about Red Hawk appearing, and it's like, okay, that's what they needed, as you stated, to sell the movie. Red Hawk. My whole thing was like, for action figures and toys. I felt like they didn't need to show Red Hulk. I felt that they needed to show more of the leader. But then I realized, like, merchandise wise and people too who aren't, how there's people who's like diehard Marvel, and then there's casual. And then there's like, I don't know anything, but like Iron Man. If you show Red Hulk, you'd be like, ooh, what's that? Or like, yeah, that's Red Hulk. That kind of experience. So I felt that he was needed to be shown. But as someone who, like, looking back at it now, I think that they should have led more with the leader than they did with the Hulk, and let the Hulk be that big surprise. Because from my expectations, I thought he was going to just be running rampant. I thought we was going to get a full, like, Incredible Hulk, but, like, the red Incredible Hulk, where he's just up and down and the sun's getting low, and now we need you, big man. That kind of situation. So I came in here with kind of more hope than you did, because I'm like, it's a political thriller, it's espionage. They brought back the original what do you call it? The original soldier,
Bucky?
Captain America.
Oh, Captain
But
America.
no,
Yeah, yeah.
no, they Captain America. They brought back Carl Lumley,
Yeah,
and I'm like, he's amazing.
Isaiah Bradley.
Isaiah Bradley, and I was like, oh, he's good and he's strong and he's delicious. It's gonna be amazing. He's like,
I
yay.
actually really liked him in this movie too. Yes, go on. So, but yeah, I liked him in this movie.
He was the entire emotional everything to this movie. We'll get into that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, this is gonna be really great. And this is Captain America. This is Black Captain America, his own solo movie. Please don't do him wrong, because you have the weight of the world, like, expecting for Captain America. And I kind of compared it a little bit to, like, Black Panther. You have an entire group of people that's like, don't screw this up. And we had the TV series, which is great and wonderful. It's flawed because of villains, but great and wonderful. This is his big, like, debut, so I'm happy. And then you have the Latino community with Falcon, Danny Torres. So it's like, okay, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be amazing. And then you brought back Harrison Ford to replace William Hurt. There's nothing they could do about that. The man's dead. Rest in peace. You can't start, like, resurrecting people. And I felt that it was gonna be okay. You saw that trailer. I'm like, this is clear and present danger. This is Tom Clancy. It's gonna be great. My immediate reaction, very immediate reaction, was, this is the worst movie I've ever seen. Not ever, but, like, MCU wise.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, the only reason why I felt that way is because I expected more from it. And judging by what they gave us, I was okay with that. But it was flawed. And there were elements that I love the political aspect of it, like that political thriller of who done it, what's going on, the government. Like, and I really wish that they didn't spoil so much in the trailers in terms of Isaiah, oh, he shot the president and now everyone's on the run. And he, that kind of situation. But I felt that was its really big, strong point, was to make Isaiah the emotional kind of toll of the movie. And in that way, it puts Sam Wilson in that predicament of, that's my friend, but it's like also the government. And we saw that a little bit with the TV series of, one, what's it like to be a Black man? What's it like being a Black man working for the government that has oppressed your people, and not just your people, but the Captain America of the Blackness, who was the first one. Mm-hmm. And then, they locked him away and experimented on him for 30 years. What is that going to look like? And I kind of accepted him working for the government, because for me, it wasn't like, I'm working for the government, I'm working for the people. And we'll get into that. There's a lot of controversy even within that. But for me, I learned to not hate it. And then I saw so many of for me, more positive things than negative. So it was all right. So kind of diving right into this, the whole plot of this being, we have Harrison Ford, who's now stepped into the role of Thaddeus Ross, played originally by William Hurt. And he is now the president. Everyone's like, yay, we love you. He wants to, I'm a new man. Everything that I did in the past, this is a direct connection, and it's also what I didn't expect. This is more like a sequel to The Incredible Hulk. Mm-hmm. So it's more of him realizing everything that he's done in his past he lost too much than what he gained. He wants to be a new person, and him just basically, I'm going to be the best that I can. Let's bring the world together. We have adamantium now. Let's kind of share this, instead of, Thaddeus Ross, the original, would have been like, screw you, your mama, your best friend, your cat, your dog, you a hoe. I'm going to go and take this for myself. And, it's all about me. But now he's a new person. And so it comes together at the summit. He's going to be all right. We have the original Captain America, which I recognize now. And then all of a sudden, we have this assassination attempt. And it's Sam Wilson trying to prove his friend's innocence. So overall of the plot, what did you think about it? And then, of course, the execution, it was much different.
Um, I don't know. It was just too much. There's so much to mention in everything that you just talked about. There's so much. There's just so much that I can go in all these little tangents about every single piece that you mentioned, and I just I think it was just a mess of a story. And I think the biggest thing is what you said was it was a the Incredible Hulk sequel.
Mm.
Like it wasn't a story for Captain America. They should have never done this. I feel like they were shoveling this stuff in. All right, so when I look at trailers and actually even when I'm watching a movie, I'm looking at it as a fan, but I'm also looking at it in the business aspect of things. How are they going to expand on this? How are they going to get butts and seats for a sequel? How are they going to get butts and seats to get the hype and get this movie going? Still continuing to make some sales in the box office. How they do well with the franchise, how they do well with like merchandise, like toys and things like that, or like an animated series or whatever they want to do. And it just seems like there were so many hands in the pot and there was just so much stuff that just didn't belong in there. It was just a mess. It was like throwing spaghetti on a wall, but like a big wad of spaghetti. Not like one noodle and see if it sticks, but like just a big wad and just be like, okay, the Hulk's stuck on there, the leader's stuck on there. We can do something with Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, but oh damn, isn't he dead? Oh, let's just get Harrison Ford in on this, and he'll just play as him, and like it's just, and I really feel bad for Anthony Mackie because this should have been a movie for him. And I have a question for you. How much of this focused on the Black community and him being a Black Captain America? Because I didn't really get that at all in this movie either. I kind of just feel like he was a side character involved in the main story. And I think the only part of like the Black community stuff and Black struggle and things like that that they really focus on was more so Isaiah Bradley's character and his struggle trying to be accepted as this super soldier and back in the day, when people weren't accepted like that back then, more so. But like for Anthony Mackie's character, it was just like, I got you, I'll save you. And then he goes out and does his own thing, and then we see the leader in the shadows, and the leader, by the way, as a fan, nerd thing, nitpicky thing, he looks fucking awful. He was like the worst looking comic book
like
accurate villain. He looked like he had herpes on his head. Like it was dumb. It was so dumb. And this is the business aspect that I'm talking about too. That like they purposely do not show you this because I guarantee you that they got feedback over this and people weren't happy with it. So they purposely hid this. So you bought your ticket already and you saw your movie, but now we're seeing this for what it is, and it was god awful. And then they make the Red Hulk this central figure in the trailers and a lot of the marketing stuff, but you only see him, spoilers, for what, 15 minutes, 10 minutes of the ending of the movie. And the way Captain America stops him was just as bad. So it was a mess. And like, if they wanted to like do the Hulk justice, they should have just done I know they can't do a Hulk movie, but they should have done a Hulk movie and just do all of this with the Hulk. Anthony Mackie deserved better. And I'm angry at that.
Okay.
So my question about the whole Black community stuff. I'm sorry. That was a really big rant.
No. Here's the thing with me, and why I wasn't upset was because the problem. Oh God, I don't know exactly how to explain this. You have to watch so many different movies and TV shows in order to like get caught up with this one. Not just, I mean, in general. You have to watch a lot of TV shows and the previous shows and the previous movie in order to get up to like, here's what happens in the next, sequel
Yeah.
thing. And I felt that Falcon and Winter Soldier addressed a lot of the black issues that he originally was going through, which is why we got the introduction to Isaiah Bradley. And I think that there was going to always be that conflict between whether or not you work for the government as a black man, despite the fact that everything would happen that the government has done to just black people in general, and then also with Isaiah Bradley's character. Which to me is why when he said, I should have just stayed at home, was so heartbreaking. Because he told you he didn't want to be there. And you kept saying, it's going to be all right, it's going to be all right. But at the same time, he knew, one, how people would react, but he also knew that sometimes people cannot really change. And we'll get back to that because if you really looked at it, Thaddeus Ross never really changed. A lot of arguments have been, Thaddeus Ross is a wartime general, and you could argue that he was racist in the past, and this is how he treats people of color. And then there was an argument that he said, well, you're not Steve Rogers. And that was like, you're not a white man, it kind of felt like. There were certain words that hit without saying those words, where he was like, and he called him son. And the son, he called him son. And I'm sitting here like, oh, okay.
He walked out pissed off. He's like, he called me son?
He called me son? And you know the equivalent of son. That's just basically you N-word.
That's like saying boy. Yeah, that's like saying boy. Oh, you went muted for a second. You're muted. I can't hear you. Oh, where did the audio go? Well, it's not my audio. It just cut off.
Okay, can you hear me now?
There you go.
There I go. Okay, right. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So yeah, it was like saying boy, and yeah.
He sons him, which is the equivalent of boy, which is the equivalent of just saying the N-word. And I was like, okay, I want you to throw something at him. I know you're not a super soldier, and he's not a super soldier. So technically, you can like throw a chair at him, do something, like fire back. And he didn't do anything. And I kind of realized this: black people are not a monolith. So you will have some who will, if you son them, they will punch you in the face. Others will be upset and walk away. And sometimes it's best that they do walk away because it can end up being a much larger situation than what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And especially that is the president, and you see that power dynamic that he has. And it still makes you say, I'm a superhero, but I still have to answer to this guy.
I will say though, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I will say though, that whole him saying you're no Steve Rogers, the context helps, because in the trailer it made it seem like that Anthony Mackie was so struggling with him being a black Captain America, and he mentioned Steve Rogers because Steve Rogers is white. But in the context of the movie, I didn't feel the same way I felt in the trailer, because in the movie, and mind you, obviously I'm not black, so I'm not going to feel it the same way you would. But like the context was that Sam Wilson is in this crazy conspiracy theory stuff with these supervillains, but he's just a regular person without a super soldier serum. So the context was that Harrison Ford's character was saying that, like, you're not Steve Rogers. You can't do this because you're not a super soldier. You shouldn't be dealing with this stuff. So like, that was another disappointment, that they weren't going to touch more on Anthony Mackie's struggle. They did it plenty in Falcon and Winter Soldier. You make a good point with that. They did a lot of growth with that show, but I wasn't getting any struggle at all with him in the movie.
There's also the conversation that he has with Bucky, and obviously he can't be like, I'm a black man trying to do this, but he did have the conversation, kind of the equivalent of like, I'm no Steve Rogers, and Bucky coming in and being like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Steve Rogers represented this. You represent that, even though it was kind of like the same thing. But still, it was like, this was Steve and this is you. And you have to forge your own way and your own path. Because to me, it dealt a lot with him having that imposter syndrome and identity
Yeah.
crisis. It was like, so you saw with him, and it grappled when it came to the TV series of him doing that. And then now it's like he's still grappling with it. So I do appreciate that. And I felt that I don't know fully what people wanted. I know that there have been a lot of reviews that said, he shucked and jived, he bent over backwards for him, and it's like, what did you want him to do? Because I feel that no matter what, Thaddeus Ross would have never understood um, Sam Wilson, and if you had a sit down conversation, he would have never understood him. And I don't think they would have ever understood each other in that way. And I think because Thaddeus is so different and his environment is so different, that's what it is. And it's weird because I felt like Sam was trying to shake off the past in terms of everything that Thaddeus has done to the Avengers as a whole. I mean, it threw everyone in jail. And that's when we got the Accords, So just on top of that, I felt like, he was trying to operate in a different way. Then the whole conversation of I want to bring back the Avengers. So then that kind of also meant for me that he didn't view Sam Wilson as being good enough, just in general. Because we need the Avengers back here. Not just you got you. Okay, that's cute. But where's the Avengers as a whole? So to me, it felt like he was grappling with a lot. I could be wrong. I think it's all about interpretation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because I
did.
didn't interpret that the same way.
Okay. Well then, yeah. Well then, how did you feel about the speech then regarding Danny Torres when he was giving a speech about what it was like in Miami, growing up as a kid, and basically him saying that he believes and trusts in Anthony Mackie's character? Do you feel that he was fully developed with his own identity?
No, I don't. I think they should have done more with him in Falcon and Winter Soldier because they introduced him there. And then they put him in the movie and then developed the relationship even more. So I didn't get that much from them in the show. So when I saw them both in the movie and then they're interacting, yeah, they're cool, they're buddies, and they got that kind of brotherly love type thing. That's all nice and good. But like, I didn't feel like it was deserved in the movie because it was kind of just like, oh, okay, they're already best friends, and now like all of a sudden he's his mentor, and oh wait, he has a suit already. He's already Falcon. Like nothing was developed with that as well. Like great for Spanish for Latino representation, but like I still need a character to make sense, and I don't need this stuff like forced to me, So it's like his character was cool. I liked him. Talked a little too much, but that's part of his character. He's a bit of a motor mouth or smart ass, but whatever. But I think I think they expect everyone that's sitting down watching this movie to be like, oh my god, I love them. They're the best ever. Like I can't believe he's developed so much as this person. I was like, no, dude. Like you saw him for like 20 minutes total in the TV show, and all of a sudden he's a sidekick in the movie. Like I need more than that.
But it's been 2 years since the original Falcon and Winter Soldier wrap, season 1.
Yeah.
The show. So with the season 2, with this movie here, I kind of would understand how they would just jump into it and look like they're friends. But I kind of wish that I could have gotten. Here's the thing. I really wish I could have gotten like a goodbye from Bucky, because Bucky is now a congressman. It just seemed everything so random.
I think we're gonna get that in the Thunderbolts. We're probably gonna get that in the Thunderbolts.
Well, yeah, we do. But they did introduce James Buchanan as running his campaign now. He has to go do a campaign speech where I'm just sitting here like, what's going on? You washed your ass for the first time? You don't look depressed anymore? how did you become a congressman? I can't see. They kind of made me more excited a little bit for Thunderbolts, so just that one little cameo.
Yeah,
at the
yeah. Yeah, it's a brief cameo, but it
Oh my
was a
God.
good cameo, and Sam really needed it at that moment. So I think it was a good moment. That was a good moment in the movie, and I actually didn't expect it. I kind of like had a suspicion, but I was like, nah, they're not gonna do it. I think they're just trying to make this his own movie. But I was gonna mention before, like my wishful like way I would have done this movie when it comes to Falcon is I would have, you could still introduce him and he's working with Sam and he's doing his thing. He could have still been kind of like that sidekick behind the computer or like, sneak around espionage because everybody knows Sam Wilson's face. You can't just sneak around and do whatever you want, but not many people know him, Torres. So he could have been that sidekick without being Falcon and introduce Falcon in the end, especially during that flight combat scene in with the Celestial Island. That could have been his moment to don the suit and be like, yeah, now I'm officially his sidekick. And then of course he screws up. We know he screws up and he almost dies, and that'll show his naivety and his inexperience with the suit and stuff like that. That's all great. But like just him already being Falcon and him already being established was kind of very forced. I didn't really like that either. No, there's a ton of other stuff that's it's like a puzzle and they're just shoving pieces of all these parts in the movie and they're just forcing it in there. And that's like, I noticed it and I didn't like it.
Oof. Okay. So then kind of going on with that thing, we saw that, he has his first little mission. That was really cute. Was securing the package and Giancarlo Esposito. I forgot how to pronounce his name. I pronounce it,
Esposito.
it's not Esposito. So Giancarlo Esposito, he plays Sidewinder, which you was like, this is gonna suck, and then it wasn't
right.
as good as I thought. Yeah, you were right. I just expected a little bit more. I mean, how you get Giancarlo Esposito, and he
Didn't
dedicates
deserve
himself
that.
to any kind of role. And he's just coming out there and he's slitting pastors' throats and the priests and everything else, and I so he's sitting there waiting for the buyer who never shows, but Falcon and Captain America show up instead, and they take him out. And how did you feel about that little action? So we finally got like open almost with an action sequence.
Yeah, I mean,
so that was nice.
I think in an action movie, that's the way it should always start. So it was nice. I this is another nitpicky thing. This doesn't make or break the movie in any sense, but like I cringed immediately at some of the fight or some of the action sequences in the beginning because the CGI was really bad. Like I was like I looked at my wife a couple times like, are they seriously trying to pass this along as a fucking finished film? Like that was really bad. Like this was like the Flash bad.
The Flash bad.
I feel like they put all their budget in all the VFX money into the Red Hulk. I feel like that's all that, like everything else was, the CGI was really bad during the action. His wings coming in and out, and even the Wakanda stuff was really badass. It was the vibranium and the energy stuff and all that was really cool. Yeah. But the CGI itself was just really bad and jarring and kind of put me out of the action. So I didn't enjoy it as much as I should have because the CGI was throwing me off. But for your point, like, yeah, the beginning was cool. It started out with that stuff. I don't know. It's just Giancarlo deserves better. He could play such a good villain, and he was pretty much just a side character with a couple of cool parts. I really liked his fight scene with Sam hand to hand, that whole car scene, and then he goes like in a little junkyard with the battery and melts the battery and all that stuff. That was really cool. Like that was a really cool scene. It wasn't CGI heavy, and it was raw, like just like fighting. It seemed really cool, but like they could have done more with him. And remember this movie was called The Serpent Society in the beginning, before like all these reshoots.
That's right.
And
it had 3 different names.
I feel like Giancarlo was supposed to be a main villain at some point, and then somebody, like I said, throwing spaghetti on the walls. I feel like somebody said, "Ooh, we should get the leader in this. Let's see if we can fit the leader in this somehow." And then they kind of just shove it in there, and they're like, "Well, I mean, if we do this, then Giancarlo, you know, he's gonna have to take a side step, you know, for the let's just leave him as a sidekick or something, or a patsy or whatever." And then just kind of like he lost his way in this movie.
When you dissect it like that, it felt like 4 different movies at once. You had the remnants left of what would have been the Serpent Society with Giancarlo Esposito and Seth Rollins.
And Seth Rollins.
That makes me sad. I don't know if Becky Lynch was also in it, but we do know that Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
So with Seth Rollins, that would have been one storyline there, like just the Serpent Society and, you know, Falcon trying to undo that. Then you did have the whole Thaddeus Ross leader kind of storyline. That felt like its own separate story going on. And then on top of that, there were just so many different elements in there. Then you had like the Anthony Mackie trying to find my own way, be my own man person. And then that I felt could have also been like a movie with Carl Lumley. What's his name? Isaiah Bradley.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I think in either story, Falcon was just like, "Hey, buddy, don't forget me." You know, the little brother that you had that has to tag along no matter what. So it did feel like all of these different stories coming together. And then, of course, you have the separate story of that being the adamantium and who gets the adamantium and the war between that. So that you're looking at 4 different movies that they just kind of edited and smushed together. And again, there were parts that I really did like coming together, but I kind of wanted to go off a little bit more involving the leader, because we do know that everything is done as you predicted before. You said, "Oh, somebody is manipulating this entire situation. He's not in control," which is why he tried to assassinate the president. So that's the concept of the leader and the fact that he wanted to enact revenge on Thaddeus Ross, to me, felt very plausible. Here you had a guy who you imprisoned for all of these decades, and he's supposed to be, you know, he's the world's smartest man. He's going to figure out a way to enact his revenge so that you lose not just your legacy, but your everything. You lose the White House. You lose everything that you've kind of gave him. Because remember that he was forced to kind of be his mind in a way. I kind of wish that we got a little bit more of that, but then again, that would have been another 4 different movies. So what did you think of that concept of a revenge plot being, you know, I'm going to show the world who you really are, which is this angry white man who's actually red when you become angry, hence the Hulk.
Yeah, so it turns out that the leader was behind everything, and he was actually secretly feeding General Ross these pills that had infused with gamma and stuff, so that way eventually if the Hulk needed to come out and you know, the leader wanted to ruin his career and his life and his legacy and everything. So the whole thing was, it's a cool idea and it makes sense. Yes, it's a whole revenge thing. But I think the character himself felt really flat. Like just whenever he showed up and whenever he spoke, whenever it was a very cheesy, like 90s supervillain type of like appearance whenever he showed up. And then like just out of nowhere, like he's like, "Oh, my probability this, and I thought of that, and I am good at doing this and doing that." I'm just like, dude, like you haven't really, like you've had 5 minutes on the screen and like you haven't really showed us much of anything. We just know you've been planning this for a really, really long time. Like if you're a genius, why did this take 20 years to do all this? Like, so that's what I was thinking this whole time. I didn't like the guy's design. I didn't like his acting. I didn't like the character. But to your question, yes, the revenge plot makes sense. It's just, again, it's too many stories and too many plots at once. And this should have just been a Hulk thing, because he could have tried to get his revenge on Bruce Banner just as much as he was trying to get revenge on Thunderbolt Ross, because Bruce Banner was involved in what happened to him also. And as well, and also the Abomination. while he was in that movie. The Abomination had his involvement as well. So where is him in the picture? Like, there's all this stuff that they just forced into it because they just wanted to make a plot work.
Well, the Abomination they touched on in She-Hulk, so he's kind of like.
Well, but he's doing his own thing.
But...
We know what he's doing, but I'm just saying that Abomination had an involvement in the creation of the leader. Why aren't you involving Abomination? Why aren't you involving Bruce Banner? Like, it's just convenient plot.
Yeah, I will kind of agree with you with that. Of it's being a sequel to a movie that was so long ago. I don't think people care about it anymore.
Oh yeah,
and I think that we've moved on.
They're all they're all older. They're all our age. They've all moved on. This is for the kids now. So it's like they're not gonna know or remember any of that.
But even if you say the kids can't understand that because then that involves watching a movie that they didn't prepare you really to watch. Yeah. This wasn't something that was like, hey, that it's gonna touch upon that. We just knew about the Celestial, so we was like, oh, okay, then watch the Eternals. Or maybe watch, Captain America and the Winter Soldier. We didn't know about, the involvement of the leader, and in terms of that they would end up breaking that being a storyline, and how this felt more like a direct connection to the Incredible Hulk. So there's going to be an entire generation. Like, of course, obviously they'll watch it now, but like, I don't get this.
But there's my
who's
point.
Abomination? And then let's say watch She-Hulk, and then you're still confused.
But there's my point on the business aspect of things, and this is why I also look at it as a business, is because that you're right. They don't care. Is that this wasn't made for art. This wasn't made because they enjoy comic books and they wanted to make something out of love. This was made strictly just to get asses in seats. People buy tickets and watch this movie and try to hype it up as much as possible. And they try to shove in as much as they can so that way it'll appeal to as many people as possible. So it'll appeal to some of the people who enjoy those Incredible Hulk movies. It'll appeal to those people who like Captain America, the younger folk. Now all of a sudden for the younger folk also, oh my God, there's a Red Hulk. We have to see this movie. I have no idea who the Red Hulk is or any of this stuff, but I love it. It's destruction, and we get in the old Hulk that we used to like, the one that's angry and destruction and everything like that. So it's just like there's no cohesiveness. There's no love for the content. It's just devoid of any passion whatsoever, and it's strictly just a business prospect. That's all it is, and that's what bothers me the most about this movie. Is that's all this is that it was just to make some money this year. That's it.
Right. I will say this in terms of the leader of dropping the ball. I didn't understand his power. Just aside from, he took the gamma rays and it made his brain, smart and to look like broccoli. I wish we could have gotten more into his thinking process.
Even a flashback.
Because even if you look at, right, like even with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Doctor Strange in general, we knew that he could see the probabilities of different things, right? That was the whole reason as to why we had the snap. He was like, dude, I saw it. It's going to work out. Bye. And then he just disappeared. I didn't feel that with the leader. It just kind of felt like he was just saying random things. Yes.
Do you want to know how they could have done the leader? Oh. And they did it perfectly with this movie. Do you remember Men in Black 3? With the Bogladite that they're trying to hunt down and stuff, or they're trying to run away from, really, and they're trying to prevent Kay from being assassinated and stuff. Do you remember that alien with the he was always had like the winter coat on and everything, and he could see probabilities, and he would look at things and he would just be like, did that woman just stir her cocktail kind of clockwise? Oh, did he just open that door? Did he just like, and then he's seeing, you can see it, like he's just like, oh, we're in that reality. Oh, we're in this reality. He's like, oh, this is not good. He's about to come through that door in like 20 seconds. So like that character in that movie did it so well because it built up attention and you understood his thinking process. So I see what you're saying there. Like they should have done something like that with the leader, but all he said was, oh, I see probabilities. You're just gonna have to take my word for it. I've been planning this for a very long time and I can see probabilities. That's it.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you with that. And also with the fact of, I'm not upset that it took him forever to enact this plan because he was imprisoned. It wasn't like he could escape. It wasn't like he didn't have the Hulk's power. He just looked like a monster and he was able to see probability. So it wasn't like he can like Hulk smash his way out or like gamma ray someone to death and then run out there and be like, I'm free. He wasn't phosphorus in that way. So it would have to take a very long time for him to enact his plan. And it made me kind of question, did he even have a heart problem? Thaddeus. Or was he like, yeah, it's your heart, man. You know, I need a lab to save you. And in order to do that, that's how he created the pills with the slowly increasing of the gamma rays.
Which they didn't touch on
yeah,
either. Why was he taking the pills in the first place? He was just taking the
the pills
pills.
was for his heart.
Yeah, but
From my
like they
understanding,
never went further into that. Like they weren't saying like, was he really in a heart condition? Do the pills help with the heart and also like do the gamma radiation stuff? Like they didn't touch on his health and like why he had to take that medication specifically.
Yeah, that, and also it was kind of weird because you have all the best doctors in the world, and it's like, let me go to this prisoner right here, and the prisoner is the only one that figured out it's the heart. Oh no! So let me build him a lab. He's gonna make me better, and not just make me better, but make me president. And then I'm gonna still keep him down here. So you see, in a way, I don't blame. To me, the leader didn't have any kind of nothing for me to blame, which is why it's weird because he was like, I'm the hero of his story. And I understand that, you're the hero. Every villain feels that they're the hero of the story. But I didn't feel like there was a hero or a true villain. It was kind of just oddly open and nothing
They
really
were
clear.
all minor villains. There wasn't a major villain. They were all minor villains. Giancarlo's, the leader, even Hulk, they're all minor.
They were kind of minor, so it was like, I'm the hero of this story, and I'm like, what's the story? Like, I understand he was imprisoned, and that's terrible. And then how does it involve Captain America? It's not, to me, if he would have had a direct grievance towards Captain America, or even if he had to continue to take on Steve Rogers' grievances, in a way, I kind of understand that because now, you now have the mantle. So now I have a problem with you. You represent this. I have a problem with you. It just more felt like I have a direct grievance towards Thaddeus Ross. You just happen to be some side annoying person who's in the way. Oh, I don't want you telling, you called up the guy. Remember the whole thing with the guy who had the heart attack? It was like, oh, I'm going to just kill you because you know some information. It's not like it's a direct threat. You know what I mean? Directly threat towards Thaddeus. It's not like, hey, I'm going to go kill his daughter now. I'm going to just kill this random person because he has side information so he doesn't tell the Hulk. Not the Hulk, Falcon. And Falcon is going to end up telling Harrison Ford. So it was weird in that way. But I do understand his grievance. I just don't think that this was the movie for it, in a way. So then, kind of moving on with that, we have to go into the other movie, which would be the battle over the adamantium and the big war thing. And I think that right there, that would have proven to the world how janky he was, as opposed to him turning to the Red Hulk, was, oh, you stole the adamantium, returned it to pretend that you was actually the hero of the story. But look how grimy you are. If Japan would have been like, look at what he did, world, then I think that would have been probably more destructive than him turning into the Red Hulk. Because then you have the other nations that were there. Remember, they was already angry. He was like, I almost died just by being with you. And, he's trying to bring back everyone together. So what did you feel about kind of, I guess, that whole, to prove that Thaddeus was still a bad guy in this whole situation?
Yeah, that he's still just kind of all about himself and his reputation and his perception of, or everybody's perception of him. And I mean, he always had this crutch of saying that, it's for America, it's for the people, it's for my daughter or whatever, but it's really selfish reasons. He just kind of uses those as excuses. So I enjoyed that part. I still feel like that was forced as well. And the only reason why I feel like that was forced is because the whole adamantium, and this is just nerdy nitpicking again, but like the whole adamantium thing, it's cool that they involved, they took liberties and they changed the story of like the origins of adamantium, which is fine. We don't need comic accurate stuff or a piece of a type of metal, but like I feel like they were just introducing this aspect of this movie as well, forcefully, to kind of be like, hey, adamantium, hint hint, Wolverine, hint hint, we're gonna be introducing the X-Men at some point, and it's just another like thread to connect the whole MCU stuff. But like it's cool that they can use it as a plot device, because it makes sense. Like the world would fight for this type of resource. They absolutely would, and that makes it a really good like espionage or political type movie. But we didn't see much of it. We didn't, we got that really cool fight in the Celestial Island, the little dog fight out in the air. Like you said, they involved like Ross trying to retrieve a sample of the adamantium, and he's trying to make himself look like the good guy and all that stuff. But like they didn't use that as the main plot device of the whole movie. It was more of just like the leader kind of behind the strings and everything. So it's just like, yeah, it was a cool fight scene. I really liked it, and it's a cool idea.
Here's my confusion, and you say that they use the Celestial to introduce adamantium into the MCU. We already know the X-Men exist, because at the end of the Marvels, I can't remember her name.
World. Yeah.
She was yeeted into their world, which is not 616. And Beast was like, hey, we don't know you. And she's like freaking out. And, we already know that they exist. So how exactly does this connect to the X-Men? Are we getting two versions
we're gonna get
of the
our
X-Men?
Because we're gonna get our own version of the X-Men at some point. It's not gonna be the what was it? The FATWS X-Men, which is what we saw in the end of the Marvels. It was the FATWS, because the Beast that we saw in that was Kelsey Grammer's Beast. So I think it's more of a hint to lead us into our own X-Men at some point.
Understand how convoluted and confusing that is?
Oh, absolutely.
Because then I can make the argument. I'm going to make the argument. Deadpool and Wolverine killed Fox. It's in the void.
Mm-hmm.
So does that mean that the Beast in them is all in the void too? So what we already saw, just pay no attention to that. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's not canon.
So then is it similar to when we got Magneto in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness? Because it's not the same Magneto from Fox Universe. It's a different Magneto.
Did we get Magneto?
Not Magneto, Xavier. Sorry.
Oh, Xavier. Yeah. Yeah, that is a good point. But like, I don't think that was supposed to be the Fox Xavier, and it is the slightest little, because it's the slightest little detail. It may have been Patrick Stewart, but just the fact that he had that yellow wheelchair that's iconic from the comics, I would probably assume it's 97 X-Men. So I would assume he was from there instead.
But then let me complicate it even more. We saw in what was Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, there's an entire animated universe. Yeah. So then is that separate than what we just saw with that Charles Xavier? And is that all those Charles Xaviers that we got?
This is why this multiverse saga does not work.
The multiverse, I don't think it's good. I find it to be very convoluted. It does not make me excited at all. Mm-hmm. And the fact that we're fighting over adamantium, and now this means that we're going to get this is how we develop Wolverine. Mm-hmm. I get it, but at the same time, it is so convoluted and confusing. And therefore you go, well, then let me just turn my brain off to not think about it. But then it becomes, if something is bad, do I turn my brain off for that as well?
Well, yeah, so that's what you should do with movies like that, because the MCU, Marvel has put themselves in this corner of like, with the boom of the superhero movies that they've had, they were very smart with how they connected things and how they developed their characters, and they haven't been the best since Endgame. there have been hits and misses. Like there have been good hits and stuff like that, but the thing is that you can't win them all. So if you're walking into a movie nowadays, an MCU movie nowadays with high expectations, this is why you should lower them and keep them low. Because at the very least, if it ends up being amazing, then you are pleasantly surprised and you enjoy it even more so. But like nowadays, I've kind of learned of just like, yeah, this is probably just going to be an okay movie. Turn off your brain, don't overthink it, and just have fun with it. It's no different than like I always mention this all the time, Fast and Furious movies. Like those are the stupidest movies in the world. Those are ridiculous, dumb, stupid, like just off the wall movies, and I enjoy them because I know what to expect from them. So I expected more from this one, from Captain America, and I was disappointed because I told everybody lower expectations, you'll have a good time. It's just a fun action movie. Just that's all it's gonna be at this point. And I told everybody yesterday when I got back home, it's definitely a top 10 in bad MCU movies, but definitely not the top 5. But definitely not the top 5. Like I would still recommend this. Have fun with it, but it's in the top 10 of bad movies.
Okay. So then I kind of skipped around, but we got to talk about Isaiah. Isaiah, as you know, from the original, he was the original Captain America. You already know the atrocities that he faced. He was, wouldn't help the government, defeat people that needed to be defeated, was basically a hero. And because he was black, he doesn't get that recognition as that. So they ended up instead for 30 years, they imprisoned him. They experimented on him. And it wasn't until, much later where Sam Wilson came around and kind of uncovered and discovered what was really going on. Not even him, it was Steve Rogers. Oh, God, I have not watched the series for so long.
It's been a while.
But it's been a while. But basically, he was discovered that he was the original Captain America. And the whole thing for Sam Wilson was kind of restore his name to let people know who he actually was. And we see that a lot in history with the erasure of basically like black and people of color. Working in government and science and every kind of else, they are the ones that are originators, but they don't get that glory. We instead gloss over that doesn't exist, and we give somebody else that title.
Either they don't exist or they play it down really, really like low.
Yeah, they play really, really, really low down. So we kind of got him coming back now where he's out in the shadows. He's, he has a life. He has his nice little wife. He's still on, has his home and things. And so we see that he is there to kind of train Danny Torres, even though he has a little super soldier serum. And, you see that he and Falcon has that relationship and they're going at it and training with each other. But we see that he has, understandably, animosity towards the government. And he already stated in the first one, he didn't like the fact that Sam was working with the government after everything that he done, not only just for him, but like in black people in general. And for him as a black man, how are you standing by this government? Which, raises a lot of questions, but they kind of, came to an understanding that we may not understand each other, but we can move on from this. But it is Sam who encourages him to come to this dinner, that, to see the celestial presentation that President Ross is doing. And within that, this is, I guess, part of the leader's plan where he would just know that Sam would talk him into this. This is how we get into the whole situation where he was brainwashed. They basically Winter Soldiered him. They buckied him into killing the president, but of course he obviously doesn't kill him. And it wasn't really to kill him, it was to make him mad and angry so he would turn into the Hulk, because they showed that, he had him in his sight, but he purposely missed, which is interesting. But yeah, the whole movie was just trying to anger Ross so he would turn into Red Hulk. We just didn't know that. So how did you feel about the return of Isaiah and kind of the overall concept and him being arrested and in prison, and that look that he gave, I cannot go back? And I was like, oh my God, I'm dying. So how was your thoughts?
I understand the idea of just like, yeah, you don't want to go back, but like I think that was being a bit too dramatic. Like you're going back to prison, but you're going to be watched over, and you're going to you're going to pay for your crimes and everything, but I don't see you're just going to be in a cell. Like, what do you mean you can't go back? Like, just have Wilson take care of it, find out what happened. Like, I think it was a bit too dramatic there, but like I also understand that like he spent there for 30 years. So I guess in a sense it's like a PTSD type thing of just like he doesn't want to wind up being stuck again for another 30 years or however much time left. Look at your face. Your time left in prison and stuff. But I liked his introduction and I wish they did more with him. I really would have liked him in a suit, like a literal like superhero suit. That would have been really cool. But we didn't get that. We just got him in his nice little blazer suit stuff like that. That was really nice. But I think they could have done more with him. But you made a good point in the beginning. He's a good plot device for the motivation of Sam Wilson, of like trying to find everything out and stuff like that. And also there's still a struggle going on with him, or the both of them for that matter. But I mean, aside from that, I don't know. They could have done more with Isaiah Bradley instead of just him being what do you call it, a patsy, or I don't even know what the term would be. Like, he was just used, and that's all it was. He was just like another plot device, and that was it.
I am so Confucius over how you don't understand. Someone spent 30 years in prison, does not want to return back to prison because they think they will spend another 30 years there.
Nobody wants to go back to prison. Nobody wants to go to prison. That was the thing. I was just like,
a cupcake prison where I'm like, I'm chilling. This was prison where they put him for a crime he never committed. He was a hero. He never committed a crime.
He wasn't even a hero. He was never even seen a hero, which that's what sucks about it also.
But, in private, you go. We love you, you hero. But come step into this prison for a second. Him being arrested, not for a day or 30 days, for 30 years, being experimented on. We don't know what kind of experiments that he did. You have to go back to Tuskegee Airmen to kind of understand experimented on.
Yeah.
And to step back into prison for a crime you never committed because you don't remember anything. You were brainwashed. He looked at him. He was so confused. Why am I here at the Lincoln Memorial, essentially? What is going on? And he said, all I remember is we were in the car. You picked me up from my house. I was in the White House. Danny was helping me with my phone.
Torres
was helping me with my phone. And I look up and I'm here. He did. So to say, I don't understand why he wasn't afraid. He was afraid of being abandoned because that's what he was. He was abandoned during that first time. I'm pretty sure it was like, yeah, we'll get you out of, it'll just be a day or two. And he was lied to for 30 years. So to not understand why this man would be horrified of going back to prison, and then him just saying, to me, I thought he was going to commit suicide. I was like, okay, he's going to die. Because he says the best thing for you to do is just not come back here. Don't come for me. To me, then that felt like, oh, he's completely forgotten once again in this world. There is nothing that he can do to escape this. I thought he was going to just commit suicide. Grab someone's gun and just
I really thought that when Sam Wilson went to talk to him once he got to prison, when they had that like face to face and across each other and stuff, I really thought like he was going to be like, don't come back here. And then he walks away. He calls the guard and he walks away. And like the next scene was going to be like he freaking offs himself or something because like he couldn't bear being incarcerated again. But like I'm complaining about it. And you're right. Your perspective on it is definitely it makes a lot of sense. I think it's mostly just because I'm still so angry about everything else that like just none of it turned out the way I wanted to. And just like I wish they did more with Isaiah Bradley's character, but like I think I'm just angry about everything right now.
I would have loved to have seen him in the suit, but even that contradicts what he stands for. He does not stand for this government and everything else. So that would have been completely ridiculous. We spent an entire series being like, screw the government. What the government did to me. Why are you even doing this? Captain America? You thought you was the first black one? Nah, let me tell you my story. And you thought that he was going to put on a suit and be like, yay, government, I love you, yes. No, absolutely not. That would have made no sense at all. So I'm happy he didn't do that. You know what his storyline made me wonder a little bit more? Is if we do the West Coast Avengers, which was alluded to. Well, we'll talk about this later with Wonder Man series. Kind of very complicated with the Wonder Man series. You know about Wonder Man, right? It is coming in hopefully December or the very tail end of this year, if we're still alive by then. The goal is to have the West Coast Avengers. One of the people that we do know who is part of the West Coast Avengers is is Elijah. Elijah is Isaiah's grandson. So that'll be a very interesting concept if they continue with that thread of because he was living with him when we were in Falcon and Winter Soldier season 1, season 2. So when we was in that, it'll be interesting to see how that carries on and to see whether or not he has a change of heart. But there is no reason for him to put that suit on at all. It just wouldn't make any sense. I think that would have actually caused a riot with a lot of people.
I mean, you're right. Character wise, it wouldn't make sense. But like, I mean, why couldn't why couldn't he put on a suit on his own volition? Why couldn't he put on a suit and be a vigilante like the other ones were? Like
he doesn't care. He's done.
No, you're right. He doesn't care. People. He doesn't care. I know. But like, I'm just saying this is like, he doesn't have to put on the suit for the government is all I'm trying to say. I'm just like,
no,
it doesn't have to be connected to like, oh, because I want to please them or something.
He's not putting on a suit for nobody. I doubt he'll even put on a suit for Isaiah. Not Isaiah, Elijah. There is no reason why this man should be a vigilante of stopping anything. What did he say? I should have been at home. I should have been at home. You know who's at home? I think his wife is dead. But he would have just been home. I think he has a dog. Maybe there's a dog. Barbecue. Say hi to the neighbors. Watch some football. That's it. The cherry blossoms are out, so it's springtime. Baseball. So what? There's he minds his business, is what he does. Somebody getting robbed across the street, I hope you make it. Don't look at him. There's no reason. No, he's not doing that. He's not doing that at all for nobody. So I don't blame him for not paying the suit. I don't want him to wear a suit. I'm okay with that. So for me, I do feel that I would have loved for him to be more than just a plot device. And to me, it was kind of frustrating. But again, I have to say, Black people are not a monolith. So Sam can work for the government, even though what they did to his friend. He views it as, I am saving people. I'm not saving the government. I'm not saving Thaddeus. I am saving people. I am a superhero for the people.
He's clearly not always listening to the government, because even in the beginning, that action scene, they were telling him, oh, you need to go and secure the package, and he's like, no, I'm going to save these people, you go secure the package. So he's kind of like using his power to be like, he's using the government as a resource more than like as a boss.
So that kind of works, and he gets paid for it, and hopefully he got that loan. He don't need the loan because he got more money.
He gets free drinks too. I was kind of jealous because he was right after that action scene, he was at the bar and he was getting his wallet out. He was about to pay for his drink, and the bartender was like, no, it's something about like he saved his wife or something like that. I didn't hear it all, but he was just like, it's on the house, and he's like, oh, thank you, and he just walks away. I was like, yeah, that's cool.
So that's cool. But yeah, I do feel that Isaiah could have been utilized more, but he was that plot device. He was the emotional pull of the movie, and I think if you didn't have him at all, it would have crumbled something, because it gave me nothing to care about. I cared about Isaiah. I didn't, and I hate to say this, I'm watching a Captain American movie, and I don't care about Captain America. I care about this side, his friend.
Yeah.
That's kind of sad.
Yeah.
I felt sad for Torres when he got mollywopped and almost died, and I thought that scene.
He mollywopped himself.
I thought that scene would leave. he might have walked himself, but I honestly thought that scene would lead to something, which is why I was like, is this something in the comic where he transforms into, I don't know, oh, Puerto Rico man?
A real
And then,
Falcon.
he's like a real Falcon. I'm here for America or something. But I don't think that even happens in any comic books,
It does.
right?
Well,
Oh,
yes,
it does.
kind of. I won't get into it, but yeah, he some iterations. He's a real Falcon, like a mutant, pretty much.
Wow.
They're not going to do anything
Okay.
with that. Don't even think that. I don't think they will ever touch that.
Hey, Kaka.
It could call.
Um.
Like even I don't know if you know this, but Red One, like the little what do you call them, drones
Robot.
that Sam Wilson uses
Yeah.
a lot in the movie, that's it in the comics. It's a real Falcon.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're or hawks or whatever.
They
I don't know what they are, but they're real animals in the comics. So I'm actually, this is thankfully I like this better as a robot, because that way you don't have to hurt any animals, in the movie. Because you can kill people all you want, but like once you kill like a dog or a cat or like some animals, that's when I get pissed off. So like just keep it as a robot and I'm fine.
We have a whole franchise based off of a killing of a dog. So yeah. But you have that, and you had Danny there, which really didn't, he did what he did, and then we kind of got to get into the whole big situationship of it, which is Thaddeus kind of becoming Red Hulk, which you said that you hated so much. So the whole concept of him trying to do good, but he's still a bad person, and the leader is just making sure that everybody knows. You especially have that he played the conversation that he had with him, basically saying that you kept me in here locked up. When am I going to get my freedom?
Yeah.
And then and it happened to be all televised, and he's just losing his mind over there. What did you think about him finally switching into the Hulk, because they kind of teased it throughout the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Especially they did it when he was about to go to
On the
war
ship. Yeah.
with Japan in the ship. He was in the ship. It was like a little mutiny on the bounty situation. No, it was. Well, would that be clear present danger? Was that a ship? I think that was a ship.
That was, I can't remember.
I can't remember. But it was Tom Clancy-ish with him down there. So what did you think about kind of his being teased and then that transformation, which I feel like you hated so much?
So I mean, to go back even before the Hulk, I don't like Thaddeus Ross's character, or I should say, Harrison Ford's portrayal of him. I think Thaddeus is more a very stern asshole, and he kind of came off a bit too charismatic in this movie, and a bit too endearing, I guess, because he's trying his best. And that's not what you get with William Hurt's version in like all the other iterations, or in the comics for that matter. So it's almost like Harrison Ford can't help but be charismatic with any of his characters. So I didn't enjoy Ross, this version of Ross. And then the scene where, so what happens is, he's already taken the pills, and the leader's kind of pissing him off already. So like Harrison Ford or Ross is like, he's holding on to like some pipes and stuff like that, and he's starting to transform slowly, and he's starting to get pissed off, but something calms him down. I can't remember what, or maybe it was because that assistant of his walked in. Yeah. So he calms down, but it was a good tense moment. That was really nice. And then nothing happens and we move on. But the moment that he does turn into the Hulk afterwards, I'm just picturing Harrison Ford going, it was so silly. It was so dumb. Like just watching Harrison Ford just act like he's transforming into this weird monster. And then, he ducks down from the podium, out of camera sight. And then of course the reveal of the Red Hulk. I thought, well, I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it. I thought it was dumb. And this is me speaking as a comic book nerd about it. He looks comic accurate, but it just didn't make sense that like Ross was he was a gray haired man, and now all of a sudden he has a full head of black hair.
Oh.
I still think that it's jarring that you can see Harrison Ford's face in this CGI Hulk. That I'm willing to put aside. What bothered me the most was that this literally was nothing but a Hulk that was red. This brought nothing to what the actual Red Hulk is in the comics, and that's an actually very angry but very intelligent Hulk, one that can talk, one that can strategize and plan, one that still has that mental capacity that Ross has, but he's just in Hulk form. He was nothing but another destructive machine. And again, this is just I don't know. This is just a business decision that Marvel just had. It's just like, yeah, let's throw a Red Hulk in there because people have been itching for another destructive Hulk. But let's not make him act like the actual Red Hulk that's in the comics. So, like, if you want to enjoy it just for the destruction and for the action, that's fine. But like as a comic nerd, I would have appreciated them have a little bit more respect for what the Red Hulk character actually was. So I was very disappointed with it.
So going by the William Hurt character, he is very forceful. He's very stern, as you stated before. He knows exactly what he wants, and he'll fight you for it. We've seen him come, face to face with, and he doesn't back down with what he believes in. And I kind of originally thought that when they introduced Harrison Ford as the Red Hulk, that he purposely did that to himself, so that no one else would think that they can go, he would be his own army, his own person, his like that, I'll do it myself kind of situation.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I thought was going to initially happen. So I thought it was going to be like, oh, we can't go into war. That's all right. Roar, I'm the Hulk.
Yeah. That would have made more sense.
That kind of thing. To me, that would have made more sense. And I would have loved if they actually would have had him turn into the Hulk when he was in that ship and just go completely crazy. Mm-hmm. And that would have been the big surprise. Because it's like, oh, this war, you think you're going to stop me? You think you're going to, get what I want? It was mine first. And then, mm-hmm. That would have been amazing. And then we had like Japan like freaking out, and then you have the aircrafts and the bombs going off. That would have been like a real great thing. And then like war, and then I wanted there to be more countries involved within that war scene, kind of trying to defeat Red Hulk. And Falcon be like, no, don't do that. Wait, hold on. That whole situation. And then, Harrison Ford just basically at the end saying it was me all along. I knew what I was doing.
Okay, Vince.
Instead of like, I don't know what happened. Oh my God, I'm a victim, because he was a victim.
Yeah.
He wasn't a victim. But at the same time, it's like, what's going on? Oh, I'm going to take responsibility. Oh my God. But to me, that was one of the biggest problems that I had, was how he became Red Hulk, because that seemed like a way more high-powered, intense situation than here's some questions that we heard. Japan said this. No, we believe that. And, and I think that the guards acted so over the top. We got to go. And I'm like, that's not what they do at all. Like, you just leave at your own accord. He could have just walked away. But instead, that's what stops him. Instead of like, we're going to war. So I didn't like how they decided that's when he would turn into the Red Hulk. I'm a kind of person, I don't like when my bad characters turn into like, I want to be the good guy. I just don't like that at all. To me, it's just kind of weird. And we already know that he wasn't fully good, because he still kept the leader in lockdown, and he stole the adamantium, which was recently. It wasn't like, this is something I did 10 years ago. And the whole thing is like he's pining for his daughter's love and attention, who just, it made it seem like we're so estranged that we don't talk to each other. But then she shows up and she calls him on the phone.
And I was expecting that to be a fake call too, and it didn't turn out that way. I thought it was going to be like another manipulation tactic, but no, that was her on the phone.
That was her on the phone. I'm like, oh, okay, that's why we're doing this. All right, but yeah, no, I did not like I think that Harrison Ford was having a lot of fun, and I'm happy for him that he was having a lot of fun. But that wasn't the role of the character
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
And I just was like, I'm the victim the whole time. Oh no, what's happening to me? Oh, I'm turning red. Urgh. And then like the whole fight scene we had, it was like, okay, cool. And then what? And then you know how he calmed him down at the end? I'm like, but then what really I hated with all of my heart and all of my soul was the fact that it was like, and he just took responsibility. And everything's
Now
good.
he's
It's on the
redeemed.
raft.
Yeah.
Oh, solid walls. Look at these solid walls. These are good, strong walls. It'll protect everyone from me.
Mm-hmm.
What? And it's like, oh, we're not going to work on a cure? You're just forever Red Hulk? Just don't get him angry? I'm just kind of confused. Because I think that if that happened to William Hurt's character, he'd have been fighting tooth and nail to get me out. I was framed. What's going on? You know, I got to kill the leader. Something.
Yeah.
But it was just like he gave up. I hated that. And to me, it really did feel like two different people. Just, you know, they just happen to have the same name. I do like the fact that they addressed the mustache situation. That was funny.
That was
But
dumb
other than
too.
that,
Oh jeez.
I didn't like it. I didn't like that whole kind of portrayal of him. Like we saw like glimpses when he was, you know, when he first got into that argument with Sam and he sunned him. I was like, oh, okay. So we're gonna get this throughout the whole movie. But we
Yeah, I
didn't.
know.
And therefore that
Yeah.
ending made no sense to me at all. And it just infuriated me. Just yeah. So what was your thoughts on that final battle at the White House where it's just like we're gonna destroy the White House?
Yeah, the battle wasn't even much of a battle. It was just a lot of, you know, destruction and CGI, a lot of destruction because obviously it's the Hulk. But like it was literally just him transforming, him destroying everything, Sam Wilson getting his attention a couple of times and then running away to try to get him to like a safer area where there's less people. Granted, that makes sense, but like that's what the battle was. It was literally just him running away, and then he gets caught. They have that nice little like long road battle with the cherry blossoms and stuff, and that lasted what, 2 minutes. Wasn't much of anything going on, and then Sam Wilson just tries to talk to his human side. It's just like, what would Betty think? You know, Betty this and Betty that. You know what it reminded me of? It was just like that scene of like of Batman v Superman, of just like once Superman mentions Martha's name and Batman's like, why did you say that name? Like I was it was just like, this is how you end this epic battle, by just talking about some person. Like just like we haven't even, mind you, throughout the entire movie we never seen Betty. We never see Betty at all. We hear her for 30 seconds on a phone call, and then we see her at the end of the movie finally, and that was like another 30 seconds. So like I feel nothing for this Betty person. Like, come on now. Like, you're not the Black Widow saying, you know, sun's going down or something. I forget what she says.
That's what I was waiting for.
She cresses the hand and all
The
that.
sun's getting real low.
Yeah, her sun's getting real low. Like, no. Like, you just met this Red Hulk. He is angry as hell. And like, you calm him down by talking about his daughter. It was dumb. It was really dumb. I like, oh, that was the worst part of it all for me. Was just like, this is how Sam Wilson just solves his problem.
I was expecting the sun's getting real low line until I realized like Falcon wasn't introduced during that time period. So he wouldn't have known about the sun's getting really low. But that would have been a funny throwaway line either way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really uninspiring. And to bring up Batman v Superman, remember when he was fighting Zod? When Superman was fighting Zod? That was a bigger fight scene. And he was technically trying. That was huge. People died.
And then the way that he solved the problem made sense, but it was still conflicting to the character. because Superman tries his best to be a good person and not kill, and he had to kill him. Like, that was a really good and surprising moment for that matter, because I didn't expect that when I saw that in theaters. I was shocked. So that was a great moment. But I get that Sam Wilson's not a super soldier. He can't fight the Hulk. He can't fight a lot of people, actually, but he still manages most of the time. I was expecting like at least a little bit of a collaboration with like Sam Wilson, and maybe Bucky shows up, or the Falcon somehow he's healed now and now he's okay, so he's gonna go and help. Or even, we haven't mentioned this at all once, I could not stand that tiny ass Black Widow. I could not stand her character, and I could not suspend my disbelief of how strong and amazing she is, like defeating all these guards and stuff, because she's like twice as small as Natasha Romanoff. And yet they made her look to seem like some badass, but she looked like I could blow on her and she'd break her bones. Like, she looked frail and tiny. I could not stand that character, and even she was there too. And even she could have contributed in some sense, but she just stood there. I could not. It was a bad finale overall.
Yeah, she was a very controversial character, and then by the time you watched the movie, and it was like, okay. I think for me, anything, her size stood out the most.
Yes.
She's so tiny. And I'm like, is a fighting style judo where you use the other opponent's strength against them?
No, the other opponent's weight, or like you can't even you weigh like 80 pounds.
She was, yeah, but I guess she was just there to kind of reiterate what Sam Wilson was saying the entire time, which is like, oh, there's something wrong with their phones. Oh, look, they were brainwashed. Oh, it's the leader. And to just, I don't know, show up at the end and then pull the rock off. Sam, are you okay? The ambulance is coming.
I contributed somehow.
I contributed. Wait, don't shoot. Remember the whole thing when they came out of the base after they cut the fence, and it's like, don't arrest them. No. And then even then it didn't work. And then she was the getaway driver.
Yeah.
But when the music started playing, when it was like, oh, get me out of here, I guess that was just her purpose and her point, just to be there.
Purpose was to annoy me. That's what it was.
Yeah, I appreciated the woman who was like, I guess you would call it no, you wouldn't even say she was the chief of staff. She was just more like Harrison Ford's bodyguard, really.
Yeah.
Who was just a sound piece to Sam Wilson. Like, I appreciated her more than anything else.
Oh, the president's assistant?
Yes, the assistant.
I liked her. I liked her
a lot.
Yeah.
I know that I think she's in the comic. You would know that more than me.
I have no idea. I didn't pay no mind to her name at all, so I'm not even sure who she is.
You suck. But yeah, no, like, I appreciated her more. To me, because she was able to be on both sides, as opposed to the other one.
Yeah, she was, and like, she was being supportive while still doing her job.
And, she had that connection with Sam where she could, probably feed him information of what was going on. Yeah. Like, for example, remember when the assassins were all killed? When the guy came in and killed all of the other super soldiers? No, they wasn't super soldiers. Sorry. They were the other soldiers who were trying to assassinate the president. Remember, it's like 5 of them? They were arrested along with Isaiah Bradley?
Yeah.
So, like, I believe that she was the one who texted Danny, like, hey, they're dead, but Isaiah's okay. So I feel like she was giving them information. But, she stood out way more. The other one just stood out because she was so tiny. But I really didn't, I didn't think anything of the character.
At all. Even for a comic movie.
Yeah, she was annoying. That was it. Maybe she was like an Ant-Man sidekick. That would have worked well. But yeah, it's not it. So, yeah, so I think that is everything, along with the movie. Was there anything else that you wanted to discuss, how much you loved it?
Well, I actually wanted to ask that question. What did you appreciate the most out of this movie? Because I think we both bashed this movie pretty well. We're almost
I
about hitting an
see,
hour
and
and a
this is
half
the
of
thing.
just us bashing this.
I don't hate the movie. You
Yeah.
like hate. I don't hate the movie. To me, I thought it was a very thrilling espionage political thriller movie. I
So
think if you focus on that,
go
yes.
ahead. Well, so
To me, I felt like
I just wanted
yep,
to say I don't hate the movie. I hate
wait.
that Marvel insulted me with this movie. Marvel did not try with this movie. I don't appreciate what Marvel tried to do with this movie. I don't like what they did with Anthony Mackie. I think that was disrespectful, and I think what they did with Giancarlo Esposito's character, that was disrespectful also, and disrespectful for the comic fans with how they introduced the Red Hulk. With it, he's literally just a Red Hulk, which that's not what the Red Hulk is in the comics. So I was that's what I'm angry about. The movie is not bad as just an action movie. But if you're presenting it to be more than that, that's insulting.
But they didn't, though. Here's where I have an argument with myself. I'm upset with myself because I expected something completely different. I expected we were in phase 5, right?
Yeah.
So I expected there's going to be some kind of connection to Thunderbolts. And you can even make the argument Secret War, which we got, which I really now regret. But the point is, I thought it would be a conversation to what's more of going on. But then also from the ground level, because again, he's not a super soldier. He's not someone who's in space fighting off aliens. He's an average person. He's a human being fighting human being things that just now happens to fight the Hulk. So I was kind of okay with that. This being a political espionage thriller, I appreciate it. I think that they delivered on that. I love the whodunit aspect. I even like the fact that it was just a guy who wanted revenge and wanted to bring down another man because everything that he promised to him, he lied about, and he was still technically his captive and his slave. So I appreciate that aspect. All of the human elements I loved about this movie. I love that the whole political thing. I even like the fact that we were going over war. We're going to war over a piece of metal. Because to me, that is very realistic. You look at blood diamonds and the whole situation what that involves. So we're literally going to be firing bombs at each other and throwing grenades over a piece of metal that fell from the sky that somehow was still in our ocean that no one decided to let me just get rid of. And then they explained why they didn't decide over it because everybody is arguing over whose land it landed on. So I appreciate that. That to me was very realistic elements of what was going on. The thing is it's my expectation of thinking we're going to get something larger and how it plays into phase 5. And that is kind of where my problem was. The problem was that it felt like a continuation of a sequel from what was the Incredible Hulk was
Must
like
have been
what
20 years ago.
2010s.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is what threw me. Mainly, it's okay-ish that it was basically Winter and Falcon Soldier season 2, but the fact that you're going all the way back to Abomination and Liv Tyler, I was just confused.
Ooh.
And I didn't feel that we needed a sequel. No one needed that kind of
2008.
sequel. 2008.
2008 was
That's
the Incredible Hulk movie.
ridiculous. That was like back when Britney Spears was in her prime, probably. When MTV, she'll still show music videos.
Still had music, yeah.
Probably Jersey Shore was just getting started. So that's ridiculous. That I don't think we needed.
You know what I always wanted things settled was Anthony Mackie and Tom Holland always had this beef because there's that one interview that people would talk about how Tom Holland, he's got his own Spider-Man movie. Oh, I've got my own movie. Oh, do you have your own movie? Oh, no, you don't have your own movie. So like now Anthony Mackie has his own movie, and I'm so disappointed it's not gonna do as well as like a Spider-Man movie. Like I wanted that beef to continue, but now like if you were to if Anthony Mackie were to ask me which one is better, I'd be like, dude, I'm sorry. Like those Spider-Man movies are way better.
But see, Tom Holland can fire back. Did you really have your own movie?
Yeah, right. Was it a Hulk
Because
movie?
was it a was the Hulk movie? Okay, it was the Incredible Hulk Part 2. It was that, or was it a sequel to a TV show? So yeah, he could. There's a lot of things he can fire back. So I hated it less than you. I understand the discord about it,
Probably.
but then you can't argue, turn off your brain, and then like start crying that it was god awful. Because if you turn off your brain, it's just a political thriller revenge plot. That's a little bit less than Mission Impossible with a red guy.
I think it's a lot less than Mission Impossible. Mission Impossible still has one cohesive story with good action. This movie just had good action about it.
It's good action, but you can't say good action and it was like the CGI is bad.
Yes, I can. Absolutely, I can, because the CGI can be bad, and yes, it threw me out of the scene and stuff. But I can still see it for what the action is, and they made an effort with the action. It wasn't that bad. It's just those moments where like you see those wings pop out or in, or like those moments like you can. It's almost like like remember when the Matrix came out and people were wowed with the technology. The wire fu is what they called it, but you can kind of like see it, but people we weren't used to it at that point. Like it was our first time watching it, so like watching a lot of like the acrobatics in this thing, you can kind of see all that wire work, and it made that very obvious too. And I was just like, ugh, like it's like back to watching The Matrix 1. Like you can kind of see like him maneuvering around his wires and doing his like spinny kicks and all that stuff. And I was just like, it's done very bad.
You know what bothered me the most was the fact that this was 2 years after the TV series, and he didn't teach Falcon anything really, and that's why Falcon
I
got
know,
injured.
right? I know.
It's like
Yeah.
2 years of friendship and bonding, and you didn't teach the man to kick up.
You didn't bother flying with him like for some practice runs or something?
That's just so sad. So yeah, so then we have to talk about the last thing. That the most
End credit.
incredible moment. Yeah, that end credit. That's the reason why you hit that button, that seat. You don't leave to go to the bathroom. You're locked in.
Yeah. My speaking of that, my wife, she always stays with me for end credit scenes. She wasn't having fun with this movie either, and she literally looked at us and she's like, "Do we have to stay for end credit scenes?" I was like, yeah, we do. We have to. And she was so mad that we had to sit there and wait because she was ready to go home. And I was like, yeah, I get it. I understand why she ready to go home, because this movie was not great.
Oof. So we got no mid credit, which really threw me.
No
It was
mid
like
credit.
nothing, no thunderbolt, no, not a hand stretching into frame to be like, this is core.
Yeah.
Nothing. And then we got the after credit, which is basically leader is obviously. Oh, I forgot really quickly because Harrison Ford, Thaddeus Ross took credit for everything in terms of like he admitted all of the things that he did was wrong, accepted his prison sentence.
Mm-hmm.
The White House is just magically being reconstructed. Everything's going on and working great. We don't know who is the new president. We don't have that answer.
Did we ever find out who a vice president
is?
is? We never met a vice president.
Not to my knowledge. It's definitely not Val. So we don't know. She's just like, I admit to my crimes and I'm going to stay here in the raft for all these years with solid walls. And the daughter came in and was like, hi, Dad. I love you. And he's like, that's all I ever wanted. The title looked amazing, by the way. But like that ending infuriated me because it was a Disney channel. It was literally Disney. We're like, the bad guy's like, yeah, I did wrong. Never again. And he still got to see his daughter.
Yeah.
And the White House is being reconstructed and everything's just great and dandy. But then, yeah, though that after credit, which is basically the leader is in prison, and Falcon goes to see, not Falcon, sorry, Sam Wilson goes to see him in the prison, and he's basically saying, there's another world. There's different worlds. It's just, and he's talking about, the others are coming. They're coming. How did you feel about all of that
I
coming
was just as angry.
part?
This is the first time I was upset with waiting so much for an end credit scene, because at least if we're getting an end credit scene that doesn't connect to anything, most of the time it's just like a funny, like a fun thing, like a funny joke or whatever. Even those are,
Patience.
huh?
Patience. Remember patience?
Yeah. It's just, this one wasn't worth staying.
Oof.
The reason why is because that felt forced, and it was a corny line. It was a corny dialogue at the end, and what made no sense to me was like, so what happens is the leader, he says, "Oh, you don't know? I've had these probabilities of this isn't the end of, like, we're gonna have to deal with another invasion. Like, there are other worlds out there, and you won't be able to handle what's coming, or who's coming, or whatever along those lines." And in my head, I'm just like, so you mean to tell me you planned all this crap for 20 years, worrying about Thunderbolt Ross and the government and all this and that, but you decided to ignore a universal level threat for your revenge? So, like, your probability stuff doesn't think that, like, this is more important? You're the smartest man in the world right now, and you think that this isn't more important than, like, some petty stupid revenge thing? Like, I it just boggles my mind, like, this low level villain is warning Anthony Mackie of this, but he just spent all this time trying to just seek revenge.
See, that's where I viewed it as he got that vision or probability while being in prison. So it was after all the events of
No,
what
I didn't.
happened
I
in the
get that.
movie, and then him being in prison, he's like, oh, I see the probability of other people coming, which again made no sense at all, because it's not even like visions he sees. It's just random probabilities. And it would have been great if, like, maybe he had a board or was using the wall
Yeah, something,
to be like,
anything.
oh, the mad
Ugh.
scientist kind of conspiracy thing of their
Yeah, no,
coming.
he's just
But it,
staring at
it
those
didn't
thick, strong walls, and all of a sudden he just knows things.
it didn't make any sense how it was even just pulled off. Like it was just silly. If she's just randomly saying words, and if I was Anthony, I would have just been like, "Oh, okay, crazy person," and would have
Okay,
went home.
cool, buddy. I'm going home.
I mean, it's no different than the guy downstairs at the street. Jesus, somebody's coming.
Yeah,
The
apocalypse is
end is
coming.
nigh. The apocalypse is coming. Repent, repent. That's what he kind of sounded like.
And that's what happens when
And it
when
was,
you write a shitty villain, is that nobody thinks that you're credible afterwards when you start ranting about the end of the world or the end of the universe or something. Like, it's just dumb.
yeah. And they could have did something, or even not have anything at all. Just have Captain America will return. We don't
Yeah.
necessarily need after credits or mid credits. They didn't even give us a mid credit. We don't really need after credits anymore. It's just like Captain America will return. That's it. Because
Mhm.
it's just like, oh, and then the movie's so far away, they didn't even write the script. So to me, that
Wait,
just made it
for which
extra
movie?
frustrating. Well, Secret Wars, I think they just now started writing. It's Secret War first and then Doomsday.
No, didn't we discuss this? I think they start filming. Oh no, yeah, you're right. Secret Wars.
Right.
Sorry, you're talking about Secret Wars. Yeah, they start filming Doomsday in March, right?
Right, but so I'm assuming he's going to be in Secret War. He wouldn't be in Doomsday, would he?
I mean, he could be in both.
He's
I'm
talking
sure.
about Secret War, right? He's not talking about Doomsday.
I'm sure it's Secret War. We're probably going to get more
Right,
cameos of a lot of superheroes in Secret Wars rather than Doomsday. But the
right.
fact that he's being involved now and assembling a new Avengers, I'm sure we'll see him in Doomsday.
Because Doomsday to me is the story of not Robert Downey Jr. It's the story
Um,
of Doctor Doom.
I don't. Yeah, sure. I don't
Doomsday.
think it's gonna be a story about about Doctor Doom, like his origins and all that stuff. But I think it's gonna be the story of the start of the incursions and the formation of Battleworld before we go on Secret Wars.
Isn't Battleworld after Secret Wars? Or am I
Battleworld
just
is
confusing my own?
during Secret Wars.
Lord and yep. See how convoluted and confusing it is to
Oh
someone who
yeah,
doesn't sit
I
and
get
read
it.
all of the comic book?
And mind you, there's two versions of Secret Wars because there's like a 90s or 80s version of Secret Wars, and then there's like the more recent one that was like 15, 20 years ago, something like that. I can't remember. But like there's two versions of Secret Wars as well that people can pull stuff from.
I think that MCU dug themselves into a hole with these multiverses without having a very clear and concise plan of what they wanted to do. And I feel that it is becoming confusing.
Mm-hmm.
And when we get to something like that after credit that we saw, because nothing to me feels like, at least I don't know, and just overall, it feels like nothing was really planned out, that you're just throwing things at me to get excited for 10
Mm-hmm.
years later. If
For the
if
money.
we even get that, because
It's all just for the money.
remember my thing, the whole thing with Moon Knight, was it Moon Knight or was it no Eternals? What happened at the end of the Eternals? We had a Blade teaser.
Oh
What
right,
decade
yeah.
are we in now?
We were
We're
not
in
only just a Blade teaser, but
2025.
we were getting a oh geez, I forgot the character's name, but the guy from Game of Thrones,
Game of Thrones.
he's a character in the comics too. Black Knight, sorry, he's the Black Knight, and we didn't get anything for that either. So it's just they did a teaser just to tease and plan nothing afterwards. And
But yeah,
and
so like,
sorry, go ahead.
yeah. No, go.
No, I was just gonna say because they also introduced Harry Styles' character, which is Thanos' brother
Brother.
in the comics, and they didn't do anything with that either.
Eros and that little troll thing that he was with.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't get anything with that. We didn't get anything with the whatchamacface, the blonde chick from Doctor Strange. So it's just like I'm becoming frustrated.
End of
So
Shang-Chi,
I just
they hinted at stuff too. They said there was a signal coming from the rings, and we never found out what that was about.
nah. Captain America chopped off all her hair. What's going on there? We don't know. She said don't ask about it. Okay. I guess that's because she's not mentioned it again. But yeah, the after credit just made me feel nothing but just angerment and disappointment.
Annoyance.
Really, it could have just been a Thunderbolts, something where it could have literally been Bucky on the campaign trail, and I would have been excited. That's all.
Yeah.
Sam Wilson went to go, he's in the crowd just going, yay! And Bucky's like, yay! Talking to the crowd. I'd have been happy. But we got nothing. But Secret War is coming, and the guy who just randomly says facts and words and percentages is saying that, I think that they tried to evoke the feeling of, remember when, what's his name? The one who was Hulk. Remember when he came down to Earth
Oh,
and
and
he
he was
was
like,
like, they're
Thanos is
coming.
coming.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that they tried to invoke that, but there was no emotion with that. Like, I don't care.
No.
First
At
of
the
all, it was
very
the wrong
least,
character.
throw a name on there, like either say Doom is coming, or I know this is a whole other discussion, but like if they were bringing back Kang, like just say Kang is coming. Like say give a name. Like don't sound like you're just a crazy person from the street. Like talk like you sound like you're talking about something. So like say Doom is coming, and that would have at least sent some chills.
If they would have said Kang, do you understand like the sheer screaming that would have happened in the
If he
theater?
said Kang, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my god. Yeah, so I guess it's everything that we could discuss about. Anything else that you wanted to bring up?
That's it. Marvel do better. That's it.
I liked what I liked. Darn it. It was not great. I mean, it was not perfect, but there were elements of good. Great. Good. So, yeah. we'll be back with something else. I know Spider-Man, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man is still popping
When
off.
episodes are up. Yeah.
I will say this: Daredevil is daredeviling. Interviews will be coming. I'm very excited. Very excited. I can't say anything else. But
Nice.
yeah, very proud of that show. And then Pixar's show is coming up, so there's a lot to discuss and to talk about. And Marvel is, we'll be chucking out them stories. It never ends. It never dies. So we'll be back eventually with something. So thank you for watching us. Have a great day, afternoon, and I hope you enjoyed this movie better than Danny did.
I hope so too.